It's been said you can take the person out of Scotland, but you can't take Scotland out of the person. After 4 decades in Ohio, I'm living proof that this old saying holds more than a grain of truth. Though I've discovered that sometimes the heart has room for 2 homes, even when they are pretty different. When I left my small coastal hometown in southwest Scotland in 1982, I traded the seaside for Ohio's gentle rolling plains, Atlantic storms for Lake Erie's seasonal moods, and a country roughly the size of South Carolina for a state that could comfortably swallow Scotland whole. Ohio, at a little over 44,000 square miles, dwarfs Scotland's 30,000-odd square miles, yet somehow Scotland feels infinitely larger in memory, perhaps because its mountains and islands stretch the imagination in ways that Ohio's practical farmland never quite manages. When I left Scotland, its population was around 5.1 million souls scattered across glens and cities and rolling hills. Today it's grown to 5.44 million, while Ohio has ballooned to nearly 12 million, more than twice Scotland's current population packed into a landscape that, while larger, feels somehow more contained. Scotland spills into almost 800 islands. Ohio keeps its feet firmly planted on solid ground, bordered by sensible neighbors and one great lake. What struck me most is how differently these 2 places wear their weather. Scotland's climate is like that friend who can't make up their mind, maritime and moody with the Atlantic Ocean constantly stirring the pot. One moment you're basking in unexpected sunshine, the next you're battling horizontal rain that seems to come from all directions at once. The old saying I recall was, if you don't like the weather, just wait. The Western Highlands remain among Europe's wettest places, while the lowlands, where I grew up, stay relatively dry. It's a meteorological lottery, played out across a surprisingly small stage. Ohio, by contrast, commits fully to its seasons. Summer arrives with a purpose, bringing heat and humidity that would make many a Scot wilt, including me for at least my first few years here. Winter follows with equal conviction, particularly in the north, where Lake Erie dumps snow with Great Lakes enthusiasm. The landscape also tells 2 very different stories of geological ambition. Scotland shows off shamelessly. Ben Nevis towers at over 4,400 feet. The highland terrain rolls and plunges with theatrical flair, and that famously extensive coastline, over 6,000 miles of it, wraps around islands and lochs like a Celtic knot made of stone and water. It's geography with attitude. Ohio takes a more modest approach. Its 5 distinct regions, from the fertile Great Lakes plains to the gentle Appalachian Plateau, speak of practical beauty. The state's rolling hills and broad rivers suggest abundance rather than drama, productivity over poetry. Where Scotland carved out space for mystery and myth, Ohio laid out room for corn and commerce. Yet here's what I've learned about calling 2 places home. They don't compete, they complement. Scotland gave me an appreciation for the wild and unpredictable, for beauty that takes your breath away, and weather that keeps you guessing. Ohio taught me the value of seasons you can count on, of landscapes that work for a living, of communities built in solid ground rather than ancient tales. The place of my birth was founded in the 13th century. The small town I now live in was founded in 1805. The Scotland I left in 1982 was still finding its modern voice. Before devolution, before the SNP rise, that's the Scottish National Party, before it became the tech-savvy nation it is today. The Ohio I've watched grow up has transformed from a bit of a Rust Belt relic to a state that quietly gets things done, from renewable energy to space exploration, often without the fanfare it deserves. Maybe that's the real difference. Scotland performs its identity like a Highland Games strongman, with brash good humour and a dash of spectacle. Ohio works its magic like a good neighbour, reliable, unpretentious, and there when you need it. Both have their charms, both have probably shaped who I am now. After all these years, I stopped trying to choose between Highland mist and Buckeye breeze. Some of us are lucky enough to be claimed by 2 places, to carry the echo of ancient hills and castles while walking on practical plains. It's not about where you're from, it's about having the grace to let multiple landscapes live in your heart. So that's another video in the can. If you find this informative or interesting, please consider liking and subscribing down below. And remember, be excellent to each other.